This is Hannibal here with my Wrestlemania 40 edition of my Wrestling Observer review, which I don't go through the entire Wrestling Observer, only the points that I find interesting. But there's a lot that I found interesting today. It's a big edition, so let's jump into it. Of course, the WrestleMania events are coming up this weekend. SmackDown tonight is not sold out. They're going to have, I think, a smaller entrance because apparently there's 16,931 tickets out, 839 still available, which with all the wrestling fans from all around the world in town, you can imagine that will actually sell out. The NXT pay-per-view, and this is shocking, it's taken place over the weekend, and it's going to have the biggest NXT pay-per-view crowd since 2016, and it might even beat that one. The previous record was 13,600. They already have over 13,000 tickets out, 4,000 tickets still available for stand and deliver. So with everyone in town, I mean, you couldn't. I've tried to watch NXT, and although they have good wrestlers like Braun Breaker, who surprisingly seems to be stuck in NXT despite having a good performance at the Royal Rumble. I don't know why he was supposed to be on the main roster after last year's WrestleMania, according to reports, but then Rick Steiner had that alleged incident with that transgender wrestler who I can't remember her name, but she's from Impact over the WrestleMania weekend, and it seems like Breaker was the one punished for it. As far as WrestleMania Saturday show, there's 62,952 tickets out with 1,105 left. Sunday's show has 62,558 tickets out with 700 left. I don't know why there seems to be less tickets available for the second show. Maybe slightly bigger stage. I have no idea. The Raw After Mania has 17,208 tickets out, 1,128 tickets left. It's going to break the U.S. gate record for any Raw in history. Of course, because ticket prices are so high. Vince McMahon side, who apparently Vince McMahon is being represented by the lawyer that represented MLW in their lawsuit against WWE. So obviously Vince McMahon was impressed with that lawyer. There was a $20 million settlement there. A love letter was released from Janelle Grant, and here are some quotes from it. Quote, after almost 3 years together, it's like my life isn't even real to me unless you're there and in it, and I'm sharing it all with you. I am the best and most authentic version of myself in your presence. You, Vince McMahon, are the one for the yesterdays and todays and tomorrows. I can hardly wait for. Thank you, my sweet beast. My heart is yours, always and forever. Whether it's your assistants, a chef, Brad, Nick, Johnny, and presumably she's talking about Johnny Ace here, or whoever sees us together. I think it's undeniable to them or anyone who sees us that we are in love with a capital L. We don't get to spend as much time together as we'd like to. And she goes on to say, I feel understood, accepted, and appreciated for who I am at my core. You see my heart, you see my soul. There are few people who know the secret to making heaven on earth. You are one of those people. So you can take that for what it's worth. It was supposedly written December 24th, 2021. Her lawyer is saying she was forced to write that. I don't know. It seemed like she got a hell of a lot of gifts from him. Like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in gifts. So I hope it goes to court and a judge actually decides on. I'm not saying Vince McMahon's innocent, but it definitely seems like she wasn't as forced into this fairly long-term relationship as it's made out to be. That's just like, why wouldn't you go to the police? Is what I want to know. If it was so forceful, I just don't understand why you would file a civil lawsuit years later rather than going to the police, having him arrested. I just don't get it. Apparently, Endeavor, the parent company of WWE, is going private. They're not going to go public anymore. CM Punk did a big interview, which I'm not going to go all the way into. I've already talked about it in my news. Um, he basically made AEW, Tony Khan, Adam Page, and Jack Perry look bad in the interview. He came across well in the interview. He said he met Vince McMahon since being back with the company once at the gym at Titan Towers, where Vince said they should talk after he's done his workout, and then never heard from him again. WWE announced Clash in the Castle June 15th at the OVO Hydro Arena in Glasgow, Scotland, with SmackDown at the same place the night before. The interesting thing here is it's only a 10,000 seat arena where they could definitely get a much bigger crowd at this point in time in a place like Glasgow. Raw in Montreal on the 15th of April might finally end the WWE's sellout record. There's only 9,588 tickets out right now. An arena that holds almost 20,000. Definitely not as hot in Montreal at this moment. Apparently, Gable Stevenson and Tamara Stock, two Olympic gold medalists under WWE contract, are listed for the Olympic trials this year, taking place April 19th and 20th at Penn State. They haven't been doing, or Gable Stevenson hasn't recently been seen in dark matches or NXT house shows, and he has been training in wrestling. Obviously, he hasn't really got over to WWE through his appearances that he's done so far. I mean, I understand with his match with Baron Corbin in NXT, even Corbin was cheered over Stevenson, and Corbin's far from a liked wrestler by the fans, so he's better off trying to get another Olympic gold medal, which he probably could get. He's a great wrestler. SmackDown last week in Uncastleville, Connecticut, which I'm sure I'm pronouncing wrong. 7,074 fans sell out. I guess a smaller arena. Raw at the Barclays Center sold out 13,554. They probably could have done a smaller stage and got more for that one. In AEW news, they've laid off announcer Dasha Gonzalez, manager Jose the assistant, wrestlers Anthony Henry, who he's already hired back, Stu Grayson, Parker Boudreaux, who's done practically nothing in the company, Gravity, The Boys, who supposedly had no-showed events, Slim J, and Jorah Joel. Meltzer says the roster's far too big, and it makes sense to slim it down. None of these cuts will hurt the company at all. But the weird thing is, Tony Khan stated many times that the difference between him and WWE is if you sign a 3-year contract with him, you're guaranteed your 3 years. Obviously, he's taken that back now. He mentions that none of these people were paid all that much. I did hear Parker Boudreaux was making $180,000 a year for he hasn't wrestled at all in the past year and didn't wrestle much before that. So, well, none of these contracts add up to much. It is pretty much wasted money. The big concern in AEW right now is ratings are lower, much lower, even with Okada, Will Ospreay, and Mercedes Moné debuting, which is a disappointment because all of those wrestlers are making millions of dollars. Mercedes Monet's first match will be May 25th at Double or Nothing. She'll face the winner of Julia Hart versus Willow Nightingale for the TBS title. Matt Hardy has been offered a new contract by AEW, but he hasn't signed it yet. He did appear at a WWE event recently. Dynamite in Winnipeg, Chris Jericho's hometown. Kenny Omega and Don Callis only has 3,000 tickets out right now. Dynamite in Edmonton, major wrestling city, 2,650 tickets out. And I mean, I remember I wrestled at that arena in Edmonton against Heidenreich in SmackDown, and there was 14,000 fans and a very hot crowd. And I remember when Heidenreich hit me with that clothesline, I literally saw stars. Now, Vancouver seems to be one of the hottest wrestling cities in the world right now. May 11th, Collision, over 5,000 tickets. That's got to be the biggest crowd for Collision in a long time. By the way, everyone was touting the great crowd in London for AEW Collision / Rampage Ring of Honor tapings last week, over 4,000 fans. However, Chris Jericho was the main focus of the poster and was not on that show. There was a lot of other wrestlers on that poster that were also not on the show. So should you really brag so much or be impressed with over 4,000 fans if most of the people on the poster aren't even on the actual show? That's one of the things that killed WCW. The Collision Dynamite tapings in Worcester this week, according to Wrestle Tickets, had 3,252 tickets out. Tessa Blanchard is now dating S. Fringe, a CML wrestler. Stardom in Philadelphia at the ECW Arena had Tony Storm appear. Here's the interesting thing. Tony Storm was on the poster for Ottawa, and to my knowledge, didn't appear. I certainly didn't see her, unless I somehow missed it. And she was advertised for other AEW events. So they don't have her on a lot of the AEW events she's advertised for, but they allow her to appear on Stardom. That's just bizarre. Just like Moxley was advertised for all the Canadian shows, didn't do any of the Canadian shows, yet he was on CMLL recently. It's just bizarre. Bret Hart's Dungeon Wrestling at the Victoria Pavilion on the 29th drew 800 fans, with Chris Adonis retaining his championship over Steve Macklin. Bret Hart, of course, at the event. Nick Khan was at the Bloodsport event yesterday that featured some WWE talent. The Roadhouse movie with Conor McGregor had 50 million worldwide views in the first 2 weeks on Amazon Prime. I would actually like to see that. UFC on ESPN from Atlantic City, New Jersey, March 30th. Sorry, had over 12,000 fans. Dakota says the Pat McAfee show, WrestleMania 40. Yeah, I believe he's one of the commentators. I could be wrong there. What's up to Bruce, Gas, Boxing, Jazz, and more? What's up? I am interested to see the tag team match with The Rock, but I'll probably just watch the YouTube highlights because I certainly don't feel like buying the pay-per-view. And I hope that Roman Reigns retains over Cody, although it's unlikely. And other than those two matches, none of the other matches interest me for whatever reason. So there you go. Even the Hall of Fame, other than Paul Heyman's induction, doesn't interest me to watch. So I'll watch that on YouTube as well. I hope everyone enjoys it. John Paz will be attending WrestleMania Night 2, by the way. I did an interview with him last night, celebrating his 9th year as a wrestling interviewer. He is way better with keeping track of that than me. I couldn't even tell you how long I've been doing wrestling interviews for. God bless all of you. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please help me out and like this video, then click the subscribe and get notifications buttons so you